that it is time to finalize and implement this agreement.
Well, of course, since those words were said, it's become clear that Hamas have made it clear they're not going to go to those talks tomorrow. So the prospects, despite the pleas from various members around that particular table, they seem to have fallen on deaf ears, and the hopes for any kind of resolution to the conflict starting at those talks, well, they would appear to be slight. Going to hear actually from Gaza itself, or for those who've been working there, from Médecins Sans Frontières. Got an interview with them lined up in about 15 minutes from now. We'll do the headlines for you in less than that, 2 or 3 minutes.
LBC News. You know my friend from work?
Yeah.
He's dating that woman who does that show. You know the one? Who? It's been going on for quite some time. Apparently, several months now. He what? No, don't tell anyone.
Do you wish that life came with subtitles? At Boots Hearing Care, we can help you hear more of what you love. Book your free hearing check today at bootshearingcare.com, and for a limited time, get up to 15% off personalised hearing solutions and spread the cost with our interest-free payment plans. Visit bootshearingcare.com for details.
How exciting is it to play the British Heart Foundation's weekly flutter? Exciting enough to get your heart racing, just a little bit. Like texting a mate. At the same time they text you. Like flipping pancakes with majestic grace. Or spotting that last parking space. Yes, with the added joy of knowing the money you donate helps to fund life-saving research. £1 to play, £1,000 to win every week. Search British Heart Foundation Weekly Lottery. See, it's a little bit exciting.
Gamble responsibly. Over 18s only. T's and C's apply. Please see our website for more details. British Heart Foundation is a registered charity. With the Morrison's More card, there's more points when you fill up your fuel, more points when you shop, and 5,000 points gets you a fiver. That's a £5 voucher to spend on your shop. Download the Morrison's More app today. Morrison's to shop at Morrison's. Majority of stores subject to availability. See online for full T's and C's. Got the need for speed? TalkTalk, you can go faster for less. Our full fibre 150 is now the same price as full fibre 65. So speed up on the UK's most reliable broadband technology without paying a penny more. Search TalkTalk Full Fibre. TalkTalk for everyone. Terms apply. See talktalk.co.uk for more details. Subject to local availability. Ends 28th of August 2024.
Door to door. From anywhere? To anywhere. Commercial shipping from GTS. Whatever you need to send. We've got pack, stack, and track. The paperwork, we take care of that too. Send anything anywhere in the world. You're in good hands with JTS Commercial Shipping. Get a quote now. Search JTS Relocations. Can we ship it? JT, yes. Other jobs matter. Maybe you want some of this pride and joy that people seem to have about their God. Or maybe you've got a feeling this new kitchen with Spotlit Island might just change your life. If it matters to you, it matters. So find your trusted trader professional and get the job done fittingly, whatever it might be. When it matters, trust a trader. I don't believe it. What are you looking at? The woman over there reading that book. What about her? What she's reading, it's indecent. What's it called? I've probably read it. You haven't? No. Have you?
See every detail, no matter how small. Choose from over 1,000 glasses, get your second pair half price. Book an eye test at Boots Opticians today and see what's possible. Trains, Elizabeth Line services are suffering with severe delays. Both Heathrow and Reading. It's after that train broke down earlier. I'm Joanne Webb. Your next update in 20 minutes here on LBC News.
This is LBC News.
It's 10:21. This is Martin Stanford. News as it happens between now and midday. The headline of Russia's border area of Belgorod has declared a region-wide state of emergency as a reaction to the incursion by the Ukrainians. The US has urged Israel and Hamas to take part in ceasefire talks, which are due to start tomorrow. The Bank of England says it expects inflation to rise further this year. It went up slightly last month, June 2%, July 2.2%. And talks aimed at resolving the long-running pay dispute with train drivers are going to be held later on today.
This is LBC News.
Just one comment here about those inflation numbers, 2.2% in July. What does it all mean? Yael Selfin is the chief economist at KPMG.
The good news is when it comes to service sector inflation, what the Bank of England was particularly worried about is down. But what we do have is energy prices making that headline inflation slightly jumpier.
Just going to go to the Mideast, getting some words in here from one of the delegations to try and put the peace talks back together again. This is incoming from Beirut.
Very true today. We continue to believe that a diplomatic resolution is achievable because we continue to believe that no one truly wants a full-scale war between Lebanon and Israel, especially not the Lebanese people and the Israeli people. We know it's urgent because the hostilities between Hezbollah and Israel have only escalated since I was here last. Speaker Berry and I had a good conversation about the situation in Lebanon and the need to escalate tensions across the blue line and across the region. President Biden has been working tirelessly to do exactly that, including through an immediate ceasefire and hostage release deal. And he's asked me to come back to Lebanon ahead of the renewed talks this week. Speaker Berry and I also talked about the framework agreement that's on the table for a Gaza ceasefire, and he and I agreed there is no more time to waste, and there's no more valid excuses from any party for any further delay. The deal would also help enable a diplomatic resolution here in Lebanon, and that would prevent an outbreak of a wider war and create the conditions for the displaced Lebanese people to return to their homes in the south and the displaced Israeli residents to return to their homes in their north. Both should be able to do that with safety and security. We have to take advantage of this window for diplomatic action and diplomatic solutions. That time is now. Thank you.
Okay, those words coming in from the envoy from the US State Department to Beirut, to Lebanon. And it's interesting that they're making it. Risk that he posed. Emma Webber's son Barnaby was one of 3 people he killed. She told LBC News the responsible for the failings must be held account.
The person that discharged him in 2022, just months before he went to murder my son so violently and brutally, he did no risk assessment. He just released him. And I'd question his thought process. I would say to that individual, imagine when you're discharging your mentally unwell person and you're assessing if they're fit to be out in the community, that the next person they meet would be your son or your daughter.
Well, now a man who was brutally attacked by a mental health patient in East London has told LBC News exclusively the system does need to change before any more lives are lost. Our reporter Helen Hobnock went to meet him for this exclusive report.
Well, when I woke up in the hospital, I was scared. My bleeding from the
nearby supported living service, which helps people with mental health problems.
I just get completely blood coming from my nose and my ear and my mouth. I thought I was just dying, and maybe I'm already dead.
Kareem had suffered 27 skull fractures and a brain hemorrhage. His attacker, 41-year-old Lawrence Russell, pleaded guilty to grievous bodily harm and was detained under the Mental Health Act.
Got permanent loss of my smell and hearing, and eyesight's still a bit damaged.
Kareem says that Russell had been behaving erratically in the community in the months before the attack, and that residents had raised concerns. But he says despite that, Russell continued to be allowed out in the area unaccompanied by a member of staff.
My area is really family area, and there's lots next to schools and nurseries. I don't feel safe still staying here. I don't really want to go, but if it helps me get over all of this, I am thinking of moving.
There are now questions about whether the attack was preventable. Russell's stay at the private facility was arranged by Lambeth Council, which has refused to provide answers about the decisions made about his care. The company, Supported Living Services Limited, has also declined to cooperate with LBC, both stating patient confidentiality.
I mean, generally, the whole system needs to be opened up. It needs to be a lot more transparency. I mean, particularly for people who have offended before, we need to know that services are safe. And at the moment, it's covered in secrecy, and I don't think that benefits the public.
Julian Hendy runs 100 Families, which he set up after his father was stabbed to death by a psychotic man in a random attack in 2007. He says around 100 to 120 murders in the UK each year are carried out by someone with mental health problems who either can't or won't access the support they need.
We've had a number of cases where there's been tragedies in supported accommodation. There does need to be good community services for people, but it needs to work. It can't just be done on the cheap. It just can't be done, in a home where people are left to them for themselves, because that can be potentially dangerous.
Kareem says he was heartbroken when he saw the news that mental health patient Valdo Callicane had killed 3 people in Nottingham, including 2 teenagers.
I was angry that it's happened to younger kids and they didn't survive like me. They died.
Yesterday's review found that the risk Callicane posed was downplayed by the services supposed to be looking after him, and Kareem's experience raises further questions about the support available for people with mental health issues.
Helen Hodloff with our report. It's 10:30.
LBC News. We're facing record levels of sewage being dumped. These overflows weren't measured. We found broken furniture. We found plumbing that wasn't working properly.
I look forward to the day when a woman becoming First Minister is no longer extraordinary.
Eluned Morgan has a difficult conundrum.
Where the news never stops.
It still hasn't sunk in for me.
Growing up watching the Olympics, it's not something I ever thought I'd be close to.
Just to do it at the Olympics, the pinnacle of our sport, is just incredible.
Listen on Global Player, LBC News.
Let's see if we can understand a bit more about the situation in Gaza over these last few months, bearing in mind that the news of the day is that Hamas have said the talks that are planned for tomorrow, they're not going to take part. Palestinian medical officials are saying that the Israeli strikes in Gaza killed at least 16 Palestinians. These are the ones late last night, our time, and overnight. Those that perished include 4 women and 7 children. 10 people were killed in a strike on Monday, this on a house in the southern city of Khan Yunis. Israel has ordered some mass evacuations from this part of the territory in recent days because they argue they are acting against Palestinian militants. Meanwhile, people who are there, bewildering, are being pushed literally from place to place to place, and in each case, is there water? Is there food? Is there any kind of sanitation? Let's get a handle on what it's like to live in Gaza just now. Carol Nagy is a medical coordinator with the charity Médecins Sans Frontières. Now, Carol, we're speaking from Jerusalem right now, but you were in Gaza just a matter of weeks ago. What is it like to try and live there?
Yes, good morning. Indeed, I was in Gaza recently, and the only thing I can think of now is that it's become such a critical situation that it's basically incompatible for life for many, many people trying to survive daily in Gaza now.
Okay, but I mean, just help us understand that. Is there any food to go around?
The issue primarily is around the continual bombardment of the space. We've got 1.2 million plus people now squeezed into a very small geographical location in this area in the middle part of Gaza around Dar al-Bala and the middle area near Khan Yunis. So more and more every day the Israelis are dropping evacuation notices, moving people continually from a very small area into another very small area with massive amounts of people. As you say, food is an issue. Getting supply into Gaza of anything is very, very problematic. We've been trying to get medical supplies in for months and months. With a lot of obstruction in the process. There's a trickle now starting to come in of medical supplies. Things like food do manage to get in. Not a great variety of food, and particularly in the north of Gaza, fruit and vegetables, anything fresh, virtually never gets in. So, and the prices of food is another obstacle because now anything costs 4, 5, 10 times as much as it used to. So access to nutritional anything, food, fruit and vegetable, if you can find it, it's very, very difficult to afford.
I mean, sorry for the naive question here, but I mean, normal life has broken down. It has for months. So where do people get money? I mean, they're not earning a living. Does the state, do the Hamas authorities actually hand out cash to people?
It's a very interesting thing to be looking at. So people want to work. The only problem is now that virtually everything has been destroyed. As you say, the society is breaking down more and more. Probably 80% of the infrastructure, the buildings inside Gaza have now been, if not completely destroyed, partially destroyed. People can't access their former workplaces because mostly they don't exist anymore, and nothing is functional. As far as money, people who can work do work. My team that's working with me in our Gaza projects are very vigilant, coming to work every day despite these terrible living conditions. I've got a lot of my team members living in makeshift camps, living under tents, if you could call them tents, blankets, etc., whatever they can find to provide them with a shelter. They've been displaced several times. Many people now in Gaza have been displaced more than 5 to 7 times. They're constantly on the move, and the situation is really, really dire. It's very hot inside Gaza, and as I mentioned a minute ago, the water supply is really insufficient for anybody, let alone, if you've got children, trying to keep children clean, keep the clothes clean, keep whatever little dwelling space you are clean, drinking water. It's a huge problem. Sanitation has broken down completely. There's raw sewage in the streets. People are trying to live in, sort of very contaminated areas. There's lots of hard rubbish everywhere, and this promotes flies and spread of infectious diseases is increasing exponentially now.
Carol, look, Médecins Sans Frontières goes to places where it's tough. I appreciate that. But what can you achieve given those circumstances? What can your team possibly do?
Well, it's impressive what you can do. So MSF for the medical activities is working in several locations that are still reachable. So this is in Khan Yunis. We're working in the second largest hospital inside the Gaza Strip that's still standing, by the way. And it's only partially functional because it has been damaged several times. This is the Nasser Hospital in Khan Yunis. We're also supporting the Al-Aqsa Hospital in Dar al-Bala in the middle area. And this is where I was helping recently while I was in Gaza. We're getting many mass casualties on a daily basis, if not one, two mass casualties, if not more a day, depending on the bombing that's going on inside. So it's incredibly intense medical environment with little facilities and few supplies. We're also running a lot of primary healthcare activities inside Gaza, which is a huge need for the general population. You know, you have people who are diabetic, have high blood pressure, and even higher blood pressure now, as you can imagine. You know, elderly people needing to get their chronic disease medication, babies and infants needing to get vaccinations and general care, pregnant and lactating women needing to be given their regular treatments as well. So the pressure is getting more and more for the general community to access healthcare. We're carrying out trauma care in our clinics and at the Al-Aqsa Hospital as we do at Nasser. We're doing surgery. We're providing probably around about over 1,000 wound dressings per week, and that's a very conservative estimate. So there's a high need for wound care, trying to stop wound infections on an ever-increasing basis.
And Carol, just so I got a complete picture, you've rotated out now, you're in Jerusalem, but your team stays working. They're going to keep going, are they?
Absolutely, yes. So we're rotating people in and out as regularly as we can. There is a system in place through the UN coordination system to be able to get humanitarian workers in and out. This is restricted. You know, we can only get a very small number of medical experts and other staff that we need inside to help the local staff carry out the activities and continue the medical work, because they're the backbone of what's going on. Our colleagues in Gaza who don't have the luxury of being able to go out of Gaza, so they're exhausted and we need to support them. So trying to get international medical teams in is critical. But more and more, I'm having problems getting my team in because the space is just very limited, and there are many obstacles again to the movement into Gaza. It's very insecure. All of these things are set to create problems.
Carol, extraordinary witness testimony you've given us. Thank you very much indeed for sharing a few thoughts with us. Carol Nagy, a medical coordinator with the charity Médecins Sans Frontières.
LBC News weather.
Cloudy with some patchy rain and drizzle across central and eastern England. A mainly dry day with sunshine and feeling warm with highs of 25 degrees. Tonight, wet and windy weather moving across much of Scotland, Northern Ireland and parts of the north of England. Tomorrow, rain in the north moving southwards through the day, brightening up in Scotland and Northern Ireland. Friday, the chance of rain in the southeast to start, otherwise dry and bright with some rain in the west. Warm over the weekend with sunshine and showers.
LBC News.
Got the need for speed? At TalkTalk, you can go faster for less. Our full fibre 150 is now the same price as full fibre 65. So speed up on the UK's most reliable broadband technology without paying a penny more. Search TalkTalk Full Fibre. TalkTalk for everyone. Terms apply. See talktalk.co.uk for more details. Subject to local availability. And it's 28th of August 2024.
You know my friend from work? Yeah. He's dating that woman who doesn't care. You know the one? It's been going on for quite some time. I've known several months now. No, don't tell anyone.
Do you wish that life came with subtitles? At Boots Hearing Care, we can help you hear more of what you love. Book your free hearing check today at bootshearingcare.com. And for a limited time, get up to 15% off personalised hearing solutions and spread the cost with our interest-free payment plans. Visit bootshearingcare.com for details.
I never win anything. Here at Win Plus, we hear that again and again. But someone has to be our next winner. Like Nicole, and we made £7,500 richer. Will you be next? Enter now at winplus.co.uk. Win Plus. Great prices, great
So if you're ready to build your business even further, apply to join the trusted trading professionals. When it matters.
How exciting is it to play the British Heart Foundation's weekly flutter? Catchy. Exciting enough to get your heart racing. Just a little bit. Like texting a mate. The same time they text you. Like flipping pancakes with majestic grace. Or spotting that last parking space. Yes, with the added joy of knowing the money you donate helps to fund life-saving research. £1 to play, £1,000 to win every week. So it's British Heart Foundation Weekly Lottery. So it's a little bit exciting.
Gamble responsibly. Over 18s only. T's and C's apply. Please see our website for more details. British Heart Foundation is a registered charity.
I don't believe it.
What are you looking at?
The woman over there reading that book.
What about her?
What she's reading is indecent.
What's it called? I probably read it.
You haven't? Have you?
See every detail, no matter how small. Choose from over 1,000 boots and designer glasses at your second pair half price. Book a eye test at Boots Optician today and see what's possible. Includes prescription glasses and sunglasses. Cheapest pair half price. T's and C's apply.
LBC News. Travel.
Severe delays continue on the Elizabeth line between Paddington and Heathrow and Reading. Some flat train broke down earlier. And on the Underground, there are minor delays on the Victoria line. Now on the roads, one lane is closed on the M11 northbound between Northside Road and Junction 5 and Louth, and that's where a car has broken down. And in Lincolnshire, the A15s has to be closed northbound at Having Corner. It's closed up to Waddingham. It's all because a tractor is on fire and there are queues on the approach. I'm Joanne Webb. Your next updates in 20 minutes here on LBC News.
This is LBC News.
It's 10:44. This is Martin Stanford. Here are the latest LBC News headlines.